Today we're back in Genesis 31, right in the middle of this family drama between Jacob and Laban and all of their family, really. Jacob, as you know from yesterday, following the Lord's leadership, is leaving with his family and all of his possessions and leaving Laban and headed towards Canaan. And his wife Rachel, without him knowing, took the household idols that belonged to her father, Laban, and she hid them away. We don't know exactly why she took them. Could be having to do with something that they were tied with the family inheritance. But regardless, she did take them, she stole them, and she hid them away. And so they're on this journey. And the Bible says they get about a 3-day head start before Laban even gets wind that they're gone. And when he finds out, he says, no, not going to let that happen. And so he gathers up some folks and he starts to head towards them. And it says 7 days later, they catch up with Jacob. So it's about 10 days in, and you can imagine that Jacob at this point probably is feeling pretty good. He got away, secretly left, he got away, and Laban, he's not going to have to deal with him anymore. And then all of a sudden, here comes Laban and his relatives, and there's an altercation. Now, it's not a physical altercation. Why is that? Well, the Lord appeared to Laban in a dream and said, do not mess with Jacob. Don't harm him. Don't say anything good or bad. Leave him alone. And so when he arrives, there's no harm that's done. But don't think for a second that Laban didn't want to have a few words for Jacob. And he did. He accused him of quite a lot. Accused him of basically taking his daughters, his grandkids, taking them away without him even being able to have a chance to tell them goodbye. And he knows that the idols are gone, so he accuses Jacob of stealing the idols. And of course, Jacob, having no knowledge of this, says, hey, you can search anywhere you want to search. I didn't take the idols. And so he does. And again, we see some deception from Rachel when she lies to her own dad to protect the fact that she does have the household idols. And so when the search is over, Jacob basically has his own words for Laban now, and he accuses him, lets him have it basically, of all the ways that he's mistreated him, of all the years that he's worked for him, how he's accused him of different things, how he has changed his wages, and he basically has just had enough, and it was his time to kind of let Laban know how he felt. Well, he also uses this phrase, the fear of Isaac. He's talking about why he's still okay at this point. He says in verse 42, if the God of my father, the God of Abraham, the fear of Isaac had not been with me, certainly now you would have sent me off empty-handed. But God has seen my affliction and my hard work, and he has issued his verdict last night. So this is interesting because this fear of Isaac is only used twice in the whole Bible, and it's in this passage, actually. And just referring to God. And Jacob is saying, if it wasn't for God, he has been on my side. He's protected me. Even right now, I know that because he spoke to you last night in a dream on my behalf, for my protection. And so at this point, Laban is going to get the last word in. And he just kind of looks at him and basically tells him that everything that you have, everything that you are because of me. Basically, like, I made you, pretty much. It's like everything you have is because of me. And at that, they decided that a treaty needed to be made. Laban presents that, and so they form a treaty, and basically Laban says, hey, don't let anything happen to my family, and God's our witness if it does. And then eventually Laban would go on his way. Well, there's some takeaways from this passage, some obvious ones, right? Let's be very diligent not to allow lies and deception and theft or whatnot even to be a part of our lives. I mean, that's kind of easy to say, but there's something I don't want us to miss, and it's this. God had led Jacob to and on this journey. And when God led Jacob to make this move, he could have very boldly gone to Laban and said, this is what God told me to do. Tell your family goodbye, and we're out of here. But Jacob was fearful. Jacob was fearful, and so he left in secret. And it didn't necessarily cost him There was no harm done. Could have been if Laban had disobeyed God, I guess. But the takeaway here is that when God calls us and he leads us, we have to trust him wholeheartedly. Even when it doesn't fully make sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to us. But if we're sure of his calling and sure of his leading, then we need to trust that he's going to make a way, he's going to provide, he's going to be our protection, and he's going to keep us. And so that's kind of a challenge or a thought today for you and for me. Hey, God, what do you lead me to do today? Help me to wholeheartedly follow after that leading.